President Obama in the last hour gave a speech at the G20 summit in Turkey where he blasted Republicans, and he said a few things about ISIS as well. President Obama saying that we cannot slam the door in the refugees' faces. We can't do that. He also defended his strategy, if you want to call it that, for fighting ISIS, saying that a large presence of ground troops in Syria would be a, quote, mistake. Among some of the other quotes, President saying that ISIS does not represent Islam, though he will not say Islamic extremist because, well, we have to be politically correct. On Friday, as you know, terrorist attack in Paris, killing 129 people, injuring around 350 others. Many of those are still in extremely critical condition. The attacks happened at all soft targets. All of them were soft targets. And in France, where you don't have a population that is armed, there are a lot of soft targets. And when we started the show off, and I've got a lot of stories to go through on this ISIS deal and the terrorist attack, I asked the question, what should we learn from this? What should we learn from the terrorist attacks? Because you see, you have people on Facebook and on Twitter, and they're well-meaning. And I'm not meaning to slam anybody. But they use the hashtag #PrayForParis. They're horrified about what happened. A lot of people on Facebook changed their profile picture to French flag. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. It's nice, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help the situation. If that's all we do, if that's all we're content with is saying, look, I changed my Facebook profile picture. It's got the French flag over me. I support Paris. Well, good. So do millions of other people around the world. We all feel bad about what happened. But I'm not shocked about what happened in Paris. I mean, how many statements did we hear? We're shocked about the events in Paris. Why? We're not really doing anything to stop ISIS. We're bombing them every now and then. The president earlier on Friday said that we have ISIS contained. Everything's hunky-dory. We're great. ISIS is contained. Forget the fact they bombed a Russian airliner the week before. But ISIS is contained. Democrats are very happy. I mean, they're contained. We're cutting off their supply lines. It's not working. We have to do more. And I don't have all the answers, but sitting around and changing Facebook profiles and using hashtags onto it, that's not working. You know, there are small things we can do. And one of them is the leader of this war, of this country, laying out exactly who the threat is, who we're at war with. But he won't do it. He's too scared. Democrats are too scared. They don't want to offend anybody. Maybe it's time to start offending people. You know, maybe it's time for the president to get up and say, you know what, we've got a lot of people here in the country already that we can take care of. A lot of people in need. And while the United States is a compassionate country, that doesn't mean we need to be reckless. It doesn't mean we have to open up our doors. You do not have a right to be here. If you're in the Middle East right now, you were born in the Middle East, Northern Africa, you don't have a right to be in the United States. But we act as though we have to do it because we're the United States. We have to bring all these people into this country. Up to, what are the numbers? Like 100,000 a year is what the president hopes for. We have to. We're the United States. We're a compassionate country. We are a very compassionate country. We send billions and billions and billions of dollars around the world. We're very compassionate. We send the Syrians $4.5 billion. We're pretty compassionate. We have churches in this country who send missionaries throughout the world to build stuff and to make people's lives better. We're a compassionate country. That doesn't mean we have to throw open our doors and say, come on in. You're all good people. Come on in. We don't have a system to vet all of you. We don't have a system in place to make sure you're not tied to terrorists. But just come on in anyway. We're going to trust you. That's stupidity. You have liberals running around this country saying that the problem out there are Republicans. The problem out there are people with guns. You folks out there, you CHL holders, you're the problem. You're the threat. Climate change is the threat. And then we open up the doors to, you can call them refugees, migrants, whatever. People from Syria. Knowing that we have no process in place to vet them. That the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, they've already come out and said, we've got no way to do this. We've got no way to make sure that these people are not tied to terrorism. Look at the videos online. The vast majority of these migrants are people or young men. They're not coming over with families. You don't see a lot of kids. It's a lot of young men. You know, just changing your picture on Facebook, that's nice. And if you did that, I'm not slamming you. You know, don't take it personally. But there's more that can and should be done to stop ISIS, to stop this from happening again. Because what I fear with the political correctness that we have, not only here in the United States, but over in Europe, and with this plea of compassion that is out there, that we all take in these refugees or migrants, is that we're going to see more of these terrorist attacks. You're going to see them at restaurants. You're going to see them at cafes. I was having a discussion over the weekend. It's not going to be government buildings. It's not going to be the Pentagon. It's not going to be the U.S. Capitol, though the terrorists would love to take out the U.S. Capitol. But what it's going to be is your favorite restaurant. It's going to be a sports venue. It's going to be the places they know where you're not armed and where they can just walk up with a suicide vest or a suicide belt on and blow themselves up right outside the stadium. That's what happened in Paris. Luckily, one of the bombers, or one of the suicide bombers there outside the stadium, was patted down and not allowed inside the stadium. He was patted down. They realized, oh, man, this is bad. We've got a guy here with a vest. He took a step back and blew himself up. That's what it is. And we're afraid of offending people. We're afraid of offending the moderate Muslims that are out there. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of coddling the moderate Muslims. I'm tired of it. Just like I'm tired of coddling the stupid college students that are out there that are protesting and whining about not getting everything free. You know, we have to use kid gloves around here now. We've got a real threat to this country, a real threat to the world. And we have a president who's more concerned about being politically correct and about being nice to people than actually getting the job done. And if that means using ground troops, like, I don't want to, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. We have to defend this country. You know, last time I checked, when the president took his oath of office, and Jody, you might want to check on this. He didn't promise to be compassionate to all people outside of the United States. I don't think one of his official duties as president is to take care of the world and make sure that everyone feels, welcome and that we're going to bring you into the United States. We're going to take care of you. It's going to be great and wonderful. I think instead what the president's job is to take care of U.S. citizens, is to protect and defend this country. Now, he may not like this country that much. He may not like the Constitution. He may not be a big fan of it, but he did take an oath to defend it. And right now we have a president who, forget about all the laws that he just ignores. Forget about that. He's throwing the doors open to whoever may come in. Terrorists, not terrorists. And I, look, a lot of the refugees and the migrants out there, they are, a lot of them may be escaping hellish conditions. But it only takes one. Go look at Paris. It only takes one to kill a lot of people. Do we really want to take that chance? Do we really want to go that direction? I don't. That's why here in Texas, I'm glad a lot of people are armed in this state. Now, I know the Democrats are worried about the people who are armed. I'm glad the Democrats are worried about those responsible citizens who have gone through a test, had FBI background checks. The Democrats are more concerned about those people, CHL holders, than they are Syrian refugees and what their backgrounds are. That should scare everybody. And it tells you something about the Democratic Party. If you're on hold, stay where you are. We'll get to the phones when we come back. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Let's go to the phones. And Michael, you're on KFYO.
Hey, Chad, it's Michael. How you doing today?
Doing all right, Michael. How are you?
Well, first of all, President Obama is the exact reason why we need to raise the voting age to 21. That's number one. I really feel very strongly about that. Number two, in President Obama's first inaugural address, he said to the Middle East, we will reach out our hand if you will unclench our fist.
Yeah.
That fist has gotten tighter. So why hasn't he broke out the boot on them? I am fully convinced that we have a very feckless president.
Well, that's one way to put it.
He is going to be the reason why the Democrats will not get elected in 2016. I guess my other point I want to make is I kind of agree with something that someone said over the weekend on the news, and I forget which channel I was watching. But the idea that these outsiders really don't have a whole lot of experience with foreign policy, I think we're going to see either Cruz or Rubio rise to the top, because when you heard the comments from Ben Carson and Donald Trump versus what Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio said, I think Cruz and Rubio sounded a whole lot more presidential, even though
right.
I was supporting Ben Carson.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I did. You know what? I've got to go back and watch the Ben Carson. I heard he just fell apart in that Fox interview. I've got to go back and watch that. But, Matt Makoviak brought that up when he was on with us, is that he thinks the senators will definitely rise if it becomes a foreign policy debate moving forward.
There's no way in the world the liberal Democrats will win a foreign policy argument. They can't do it. They're weak. They want to coddle everybody. Reagan said, "Peace through strength." Anyway, y'all have a good day. Okay. All
right. Thanks, Michael. Have a good one out there. 770-5790 toll free. 1-800-687-0790. You can send in your thoughts via email, chat@kfyo.com. The president, he gets up in front of a large crowd today at the G20 summit. Spends a lot of time slamming Republicans and slamming the ideas from Ted Cruz and others, and from just about every report that I've seen. and this is coming from even liberal reporters, he was more impassioned about the reaction here at home than he was the ISIS attacks. He was more upset about the call to end the refugee relocation program than he was the ISIS attack. You know how he described the ISIS attack? Jody, have you seen this? I know you were busy during the... Now, how should a commander-in-chief, when talking about the terrorist attack in Paris, how should the president describe that, Jody? In, talking about terms of our fight against ISIS, how should the commander-in-chief describe it?
I would describe it more like continuing the acts of war against generally peace-loving people.
You know what he called it?
I'm afraid to hear now.
President said the terrorist attack in Paris was a setback.
Oh, a setback.
A setback.
Yeah, that's what I would. That was one of my first thoughts.
Hillary Clinton. Like she has a lot of setbacks in her campaign. Just a little. I don't know. Maybe it's me, but if there was a terrorist attack that killed 129 people, injured 350 more, if I were in Paris right now, I would not be happy with President Obama. That's not a setback.
No.
It's an act of war. Another act of war.
Yeah, another one. One of the many.
And this is a man who goes around saying that ISIS is contained. Every single time this guy speaks, he's wrong. He called ISIS the JV team. He said they were contained. He said they were contained after they bombed a plane. He's just wrong. And yeah, Jody, I heard Congressman Nagelbauer on LFN today talking about how the president has broken all these laws. Well, Congress, what are you doing? I know you're not going to impeach him, but my goodness, it's the Republicans are just defeated. They don't know how to handle this president, and his time's almost up anyway.
They're scared to handle this president.
Oh, yeah. I mean, man, we need some fighters in Washington, D.C. We really do. By the way, one of the first statements from the congressional Texas 19 candidates has come out about ISIS. We'll read that next. All right, Chad HD Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Welcome back. All right, let's see. One of the Texas 19 candidates, Colonel Michael Bob Starr, with a press release, Congress must commit to the complete defeat of ISIS, saying, quote, nobody should be allowed to attack our allies with impunity. Paris attack was an act of war against one of our oldest allies, demands a strong response, something that President Obama's not for. He didn't put that in there. I added that part. We should stand arm in arm with France as it retaliates against those responsible for the assault on innocent civilians, either as a coalition partner or as a part of a broader NATO response under Article 5. It's clear the West is in a state of war with ISIS. Congress should immediately pass a joint resolution authorizing the use of military force against the Islamic State and quit playing politics with national security. Also had a comment on the southern border saying, basically, these refugees in it as an immigrant. Got to secure the border. So that from Colonel Starr, running for Texas 19. If we get any other press releases from Texas 19, we'll let you know. Before I get to the phones, I've got a couple more quotes here. This from the President of the United States. Bloomberg report, the President grew visibly irritated with repeated questions during his news conference about whether he should act more decisively or accomplish more faster to destroy the Islamic State. So the president, he wasn't irritated by the Islamic State. He was irritated by questions of whether he should do more. He said he is aware of his approach doesn't offer the satisfaction of a, quote, neat headline or immediate solution. This from the President of the United States. This a real quote from your Commander-in-Chief regarding ISIS. Quote, what I'm not interested in doing is posing or pursuing some notion of American leadership or America winning. That has no relationship to what is actually going to work. Every single Republican candidate, and I know they're not running against Barack Obama, who really doesn't deserve the title president, especially after that quote. Look, there are a lot of other things. But this has got to be the absolute worst quote that I've ever heard from a president. Could you imagine when fighting the Nazis, the president got up and said, well, what I'm not interested in is pursuing this idea of American leadership, of America winning. I don't want that. That's President, that's what he'll be remembered for right there. Or that's what he should be remembered for, is a president who's not interested in American leadership or in America winning. Donald Trump right now is salivating over that quote. Because Donald Trump has said over and over again, America needs to win. American leadership, America needs to win. Some staffer is going to hand that quote to Donald Trump, and he's going to knock it out of the park. As he should, as any of these candidates should. Right now, I really wish there wasn't an FCC. When I read that quote, Jody, this is why I'm glad I wasn't on the air Saturday. But now after reading that quote, I really, really wish there was not an FCC right now. Now, some of the older ladies in the audience might be offended by what I would say. Possibly, but I bet some of them, because we have some salty older listeners out there. Okay? We have some older ladies in the audience. They're a little salty. And I guarantee you they probably went, what the? Yeah. So you thought I was going to say it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, okay. The president. What I'm not interested in doing is posing or pursuing some notion of American leadership or America winning that has no relationship to what is actually going to work. My goodness. This is what we're dealing with here in the United States. If we actually had some members of Congress who had a spine, that right there, that quote, that's good enough for impeachment. Forget about everything else that the president has done. That quote, when fighting an enemy of the United States and saying, I don't want to talk about America winning. What are you doing? That is pathetic that we hear that from the President of the United States. Real quickly before the break, Robin, you're on KFYO.
Good morning. Yes, I was one of those yelling at the TV. However, I will say this. This was the conference, the press conference that we've been begging for and wishing for. It was unscripted. The questions were not pre-checked. And you got to hear the president tell you exactly what he thinks. And this is what, if we'd had from the beginning, I really feel the previous election would have changed, the outcome would have been differently.
Yeah.
Now, when he sits there and he explains his thoughts, and I had the same thing, I thought, well, I know what he's saying as far as people coming over and, it's not who America is, but I'm sitting here going, well, really, do you even know who America is? I mean, your job is not to define who America is. Your job is to be president and to be the head guy, the head protector. And when I sat there and listened to him, I thought, wow, we're seeing him for who he really is. And what I wanted to hear, though, and I can understand about America, it's really not about America winning. We want the people over there to win. We want the people over there. It's like, except we are the ones with the we kind of got the power to do it. You know what I mean? And I think that's what you're saying about America winning. That what I don't understand is for the last, 2 years, the Kurds, the Peshmerga, they will sit there. They are willing to spill their blood and their treasure. They will pay the price. They're asking us to help them with arms and help them with some intelligence, but they're willing to do it. In fact, they've been doing it the last few weeks. And that's what gets me, is we have people over there that are, in fact, the Kurds are more pro-America than America is pro-America. And I guess that's what it comes down to me is, I'm like, you know what, President, you're talking in circles. You know, there are people over there willing to do it.
This is a guy who'd rather America win when it comes to climate change.
Oh, exactly. Because, see, this is the next thing is what got me is, because I'm kind of like, we've had stuff that's been stuck at Baghdad, okay? We can't sit here and, and get it shipped over. There's just a lot of stuff going on there. But I'm telling you, the Kurds will do the job, okay? So that should take that argument off the plate. He needs to just get over that and get it done.
Yeah.
But when you sit there at the climate change, I was blown away when Bernie Sanders, this was his quote, he believes that climate change is responsible for ISIS. Because according to him, the State Department, or actually the Defense Department and the CIA have explained to him that when you don't have jobs and when you have famine, then this is what results. They're unhappy. They're going to pursue what they pursued like this weekend. And he said that's the thing that's facing us, that's our biggest danger.
No.
And so I sat there and listened to Bernie Sanders connect the dots between ISIS and climate change. And it blew me away.
Oh, well, there are a lot of Democrats who believe that. Robin, I got to get going. I appreciate you coming on the air today.
Okay, well, thank you.
Have a good one. 770-5790, toll free, 1-800-687-0790. We had one of our salty older ladies who call in and say, I'll just do it. You're not going to offend me. It's dry. Well, then, Rob Snyder over there would get very mad at me and the FCC, and that I wouldn't be able to do this anymore. But I really want to. We'll go ahead. We'll take the break. Chad Hasty Show. We'll wrap things up when we come back here on KFYO. Let's go to the phones. And Billy, you're on KFYO. Hello, Billy.
Hey, Chad. Man, he actually said that. He just said that a while ago because I'm at work right now.
Yeah, he's not interested in American leadership or America winning. He's not interested in that in the fight against ISIS.
Man, he should never run for president then. Boy, you know what? I wonder how many of the drive-by meetings going to use that quote start out with the news this evening. We probably won't see it.
Yeah.
We'll probably see it on Fox.
Oh, no, I guarantee you're not going to see that quote. They're going to bury that so deep.
Oh,
they don't want to ask Hillary. They don't want to ask Bernie Sanders about that. The liberal media will bury that quote.
Wow. Well, I believe Rush them and Hannity, they going, and like I said, Trump, that's something we've been waiting for, the lady said, and sometimes you have to catch them off guard. So he went on his guard, so sometimes loose lips sink ships, boy. This might hurt him. This going to hurt him.
Yeah.
Democrats,
Oh, absolutely. It should. It should hurt him. Hey, Billy, thanks, man. Appreciate your call.
All right, yeah, have a good day.
Hillary Clinton, there was a debate over the weekend that you probably didn't watch because you have a life. The Democrats held a debate on Saturday. Hillary Clinton was asked about why she won't say Islamic extremism.
I don't think we're at war with Islam. I don't think we're at war with all Muslims. I think we're at war with jihadists who have...
Just to interrupt, he didn't say all Muslims. He just said radical Islam. Is that a phrase you don't...
I think that you can talk about Islamists who clearly are also jihadists, but I think it's not particularly helpful to make the case that Senator Sanders was just making, that I agree with, that we've got to reach out to Muslim countries. We've got to have them be part of our coalition. If they hear people running for president who basically shortcut it to say we are somehow against Islam, that was one of the real contributions, despite all the other problems, that George W. Bush made after 9/11, when he basically said, after going to a mosque in Washington, we are not at war with Islam or Muslims. We are at war with violent extremism. We are at war with people who use their religion for purposes of power and oppression. And yes, we are at war with those people, but I don't want us to be painting with too broad a brush.
That's right. We don't want to say Islam. I'd rather say jihadist. Well, you're getting closer. Again, why do we have to keep saying that we're not at war with Islam? Why do we have to keep saying that? If the president comes out and says that ISIS is not Islam, then why do we have to go ahead and keep saying we're not at war with Islam? Why do we have to coddle Muslims? That's the Democratic Party right there. That's Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders, who says that climate change, it's the real threat to the world. It's the real threat to America. Yeah, we need to take care of ISIS, but really, it's climate change that's the number one threat. You have Hillary. Well, I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush here because I don't want to offend anyone who might be Islamic and vote for me. I don't want to do that. And then you have the President of the United States. When discussing Islam and beating the Islamic State, a group of people whose only mission is to kill you. That's it. They don't want to live in peace. They don't want to live in harmony. They don't want to have trade agreements. They don't want any of that. They want to kill you. And the president says about those people, I'm not interested in pursuing a notion of American leadership or America winning. That's the Democrats. Every single Democrat who voted for Barack Obama should be ashamed right now. Well, they should have been ashamed a long time ago, but they should really be ashamed now that you helped elect a president who would get in front of the world and the world was watching, says, I don't care about winning. By the way, the French president came out and said, this is not about containing ISIS. This is about defeating ISIS. You have the socialist president of France who is getting out there and saying, we will defeat ISIS, taking a stronger tone than the president of the United States.
It's a bad sign when the French have a bigger pair than the United States.
Yes, yeah. Right now, you have American leadership being passed up by Russia and by France. That's America 2015. Sad to see. Very dangerous for this country.
For the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if Hillary wins, it'll be just a continuation. I can't move past that quote. What I'm not interested in doing is posing or pursuing some notion of American leadership or America winning. I don't know if there's ever been an impeachable quote. That's it. There's been impeachable offenses. That quote right there, that should lead everyone in Congress right now to do something, but they won't. We don't have any fighters. And most of America probably won't even read that story. They won't even know the quote. We just have to be compassionate. Tired of being compassionate, folks.